to Finding Calm in the Chaos. I am Denise Sith, and this is my podcast. Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to another episode of Finding Calm in the Chaos. Just in case you didn't know, where have you been? I'm Denise Sith, and today we're going to talk about the business of being busy. So our society is in the business of being busy. It just is, right? If you're too idle, you're wasting time. And so you must constantly, in order to be successful or whatnot, always be on the move, right? I know, I've been there. This is me. I live for it. Being busy is seen as a badge of honor. It's a marker for self-worth. And, lack of leisure time is viewed as a direct indication of status, period. It's a sick thought, but it is, right? But overscheduling ourselves can negatively affect our emotional and physical health. I'm going to talk about that today. It also affects our ability to maintain healthy relationships. And this I found out firsthand. And now that I'm trying to unbusy myself, I am finding that I have friends or family members that are in the business of being busy. And you have to just respect that because they have to learn for themselves. But it does affect the relationships when it is identified. So, why do we love being busy, right? Let's be honest. So it is heavily connected to our self-worth, period. No matter what we say, it's how others view our status, right? Individuals, you, I, are busy, right? When we're busy by choice, we feel needed. We're in demand, we're important, right? It elevates our feelings of self-worth is what it does. But I could tell you that research is just the opposite. It does not do that. It is the exact opposite. Being over busy can be a problem. Culturally, in general, there's been a shift in the status perception, and that material objects and goods aren't no longer the indicator of a social standing. Now, individuals who are busy at work and are overworked have a real lack of leisure time. They're perceived as a higher status. And it is. But think about that. Like, what? That is ridiculous. It's ridiculous when you think about it. But we are. And I think that going through the pandemic and having people work from home, there kind of is this conflict of being busy in a good way and being busy so people think you're busy. But then there's also being busy purposefully to avoid things or to keep your mind off things, which is what I was doing. I would make myself super busy, structured, write it down, do all of that to make sure that I wasn't doing that, right? So I was numbing myself with busyness, right? It was my way to avoid and numb out painful feelings or situations, right? I was unable to focus on what may be bothering me or causing me discomfort beneath the surface. And that's no bueno, And there is a difference between being busy and being productive, right? They're confused with one another often. If you're busy, you have a lot on your plate, but that doesn't necessarily mean you're productive or using your time efficiently at all, right? Being productive means you're actually completing tasks and getting something done. You don't need to be busy in order to be productive, right? You do not have to be busy in order to be productive. I struggled with that. And I have found that the more I'm using time blocking and forcing myself that I'm only working or doing podcasting or recording or doing research on stuff at certain times. And after that, even if I'm not done, I'm done because I have to spend time with my family. And we don't think we are, but we are. We are not. Does that make sense? I don't think I said that right. But we have to find that work-life balance, right? It's an important part of experiencing a healthy work and home environment, right? That you could thrive in. Work-life balances looks different for everybody, but you have to have a work-life balance. You need to feel in control of and comfortable with how your time is spent. So if the work-life balance is thrown off, then you're burnout, right? That's the very definition of burnout. When you're feeling overworked, exhausted, or disconnected, either socially or from your family life, that is when you're experiencing a shift and an unbalance in your work life. Okay? So work-life balance is thrown off. Now you're also leading to chronic stress, right? That impacts mental health. Eventually it will affect your physical health. And it's just a snowball effect after that. But what it affected me mostly was when I glorified busyness, I should say. And I encouraged it to myself, that I ended up overextending myself, whether it be obligations, appointments, commitments, responsibilities, whatever, but I wound up feeling angry, hopeless, guilty, overwhelmed, stressed, frustrated. There's a ton, right? Anxious, what are some things? Inadequate, incompetent, lonely. I mean, I can go on and on. Because if you are unable to complete tasks or uphold the obligations that you dedicated yourself to, you feel guilty, right? You feel like you've let yourself or others down because you're deriving self-worth through being productive and completing tasks. So you're falling short can impact the perception of yourself. And that is also a problem. And there are some minor, varying, I guess, degrees of being in the business of being busy, right? So a lot of this may be like right now that I'm talking about is work, whether it be you're an entrepreneur or you have a 9-to-5 job, or, you go to an office, you don't go to an office, you go to a brick and mortar, you're self-employed. All of this pertains to you with respects to work itself, right? But you can sacrifice your physical well-being for the sake of getting tasks done. You got to stay up that little extra weight. You're not going to go to bed when you said you were going to go to bed. You're going to go to bed when you're finished. It's hard. It's really hard. And not prioritizing like exercise as much as you'd like to get, not getting as much sleep as your body needs. When you find yourself ignoring or pushing aside physical health concerns instead of seeing a doctor right away, can I raise my hand? Let me raise my hand. I'm raising it so high, I'm touching the ceiling in my office. Because that is like me 100%. Because what it does is when you are excessively in the business of being busy, your physical health impact is going to trigger or exacerbate a ton of stuff. Insomnia, inflammation for me, right? Fatigue, compromised immune function, muscle tension and pain, restlessness, headaches. Everyone talking about they have headaches. I have never seen on social media so many people have freaking headaches in my life. Fatigue, change in sex drive, digestion issues, cardiovascular disease. All of these things play into being busy, right? You're too busy. Now, I will say that a lot of people are busy, but a lot of people are busy doing things that I just can't see myself doing. So like, there are a lot of people who, especially moms, are big at this. that you say that you just don't have time for simple things like going to dinner with the girls, having a coffee with the girls, um, just having a phone call. I've had people tell me they're too busy to have a phone call, which don't even get me started on people not talking, physically talking to people nowadays. That you want to leave messages and text messages. And listen, we as humans need human interaction. And the reason why we have such high rates of depression and suicide in this country is because as we quote unquote progress in the world, we are not progressing in human interaction, face to face, mouth to mouth interaction, speaking to people. I don't find it funny at all when people post those memes or whatnot or GIFs that say, I just texted with my friend for 30 minutes and then she thought we'd save time by texting if she just called me. And I freaked out and thought, what? I can't answer my phone. Why? My rule is that if it takes me more than 2 sentences to actually freaking type what I want to tell you, I'm going to call you. And if you don't answer, you're not getting the story. That's ridiculous. Or you can call me later. But missing out on speaking to people, and I know a lot of people are going to fight this, like, oh no, I get it. God. Remember when I was younger, we would literally go to people's houses, brace yourself, without calling, without texting. You just went to their house like it was a free-for-all. You just were driving in the neighborhood and you were like, shoot, I want to go see Tracy. And then I'd pull up in Tracy's house and I'd get out of the car and I'd ring her doorbell. And Tracy'd answer the door and be like, oh my God, what are you doing here? How amazing. Come on in. Oh, I just wanted to say hi. I don't have time to come in, but I was in the neighborhood. Or maybe I do have time to go in. And she invited me, which means that she has time. So we're going to go in and we're going to probably laugh our asses off the next hour. I don't get it. I don't get now how people don't want people to their houses. They don't want to speak to them. It's strange to me. And this is a huge problem with our innate need as humans to be with other humans. And so something to chew on if you're wondering why you feel so isolated or anxious or depressed. I'm not a therapist, but that's just common sense, peeps. It's common sense. And I miss that. I miss having friends that I could just go to their houses. I have friends who aren't available at any time of the day because they talk about how stressed they are and they're driving, Jimmy to baseball, and then they have soccer, and then they have, they go to the store, and then she's got to drop off things for the chess club, and then she's got to take, her daughter to dance, but then after dance, while she's at dance, she's got to run over and do grocery shopping, and then while she finishes that, she didn't have time because, dance was over, so she picked her up, and then she was worried that she'd be late picking up Jimmy from the show with his friends. Because what? First off, why the hell are your kids in 5 or 6 things, man? And then the same person over the summer, New Year's coming, we're all making schedules for our kids or already have school going back, right? We start in September. But they signed him up for everything again. I'm like, wow, didn't you just say that last year was really stressful for you? Yeah. Okay, and then you also told me that Jimmy didn't even go to half his stuff and hated she hated dance class. So why'd you sign him up again? It doesn't make any sense to me. Because I just think we feel as adults, we need to be providing experiences for our kids. That doesn't mean we need to give up our entire life and free time and be a taxi service. We just don't. And I will never agree with that. And if you want to do that, that's cool and that's awesome. But I'm just interested in he does what he needs to do for his class. We pick 2 extracurricular activities. He could have a sport if he wants one, something physical, and he can have something outside of that. Pete's in Scouts and he's in Taekwondo. That's what he's going to stick with. If he tells me he doesn't want either one of those anymore, then we will replace that with another, activity of, equal equivalence and go with that. But no, I'm not driving. That's insane. And I understand like people are going to be, I know everybody's going to start like moaning and crying now about baseball and, okay, your kid is not going to be a pro. If he is, it's very rare. But if you are driving your kids to any sporting event in the hopes that they're going to land in a national or American league, the percentage is so low. Please don't do it for that reason. Please don't. Just don't. All right. Well, I'm going to end it on that, and we'll come back right after the break from our sponsor. Today's episode of Finding Calm in the Chaos is sponsored by the Moon Loops Company. Moon Loops was created by a stay-at-home mom who has turned her lifelong journey with hair loss into a company that empowers others with fashionable and functional headbands. This boss mom has dealt with her fair share of hair loss. She was diagnosed with trichotillomania, the hair pulling disorder, at an early age. Later developed alopecia due to the hormone imbalance after and during both her pregnancies, and is currently battling postpartum and COVID hair loss. She created Moon Loops to bring confidence to women and children who need it. These headbands are luxuriously soft, stretchy without losing shape, fashionable and functional. They are non-slip and can be worn in 3 different ways. They're great for nurses, teachers, and women who just want to spice up their mom buns or sassy pixies. Follow Moon Loops on Instagram at moonloops.co to find out when the next headbands are going to drop. That's moonloops.co on Instagram, moonloops.co. And just for my listeners, and always to help small family businesses, you can get 10% off your first order using promo code Thank You. Again, that's 10% off all first orders with promo code Thank You. Hello. Welcome back. All right. So, coming back from the break here. So basically, there are some things you can do when you're addicted, how you can finally kind of like see that you're being addicted to being busy and why. I'm not a therapist. I'm not a whatever. These are things that I have found. I wrote these things down based on what I personally suffered or did, or the behaviors that I did and what I was doing to do that, to be busy. So, you know what I'm saying? So being too busy it's overwhelming. It was stress inducing. I used to make gigantic to-do lists, little time to achieve them, packed schedule, overbooked diary. This is all self-inflicted, right? Because I was addicted to being busy. All right. The first thing that was a huge thing for me, and which I kind of knew was a problem, right? That I had issues with being busy. And that was, I had a fear of missing out. I did stuff no matter what. And I packed our schedule to the bursting point because I feared missing out or being unproductive. I literally would get anxious at the thought of slowing down or not getting things done. You're pretty addicted when that's a problem. And, these were easy for me to identify because I'm a recovering alcoholic. I always will be. And I, just because you can have addictions to alcohol that are replaced by other addictions that are non-alcoholic or non-drug related. I had a problem shopping. That's an addiction. I had a problem with being busy. That's an addiction. Okay. So these are things that I was able to pinpoint from my own habits and behaviors that helped me determine that I had a problem with being busy, that it was an addictive behavior for me. So that fear of missing out, I was avoiding negative emotions. Okay, that's number 2. So basically, I occupied all my time with tasks so that I could avoid the difficult issues in my life, right? Family problems, relationship problems, financial problems. And most of us will use being busy as a way to avoid difficult emotions. Because if our mind isn't occupied with a task or a social event or something for work, what are we left with? Our thoughts and emotions. And we don't want to address those right now. So let's hurry up and find something else to do. That's what happened. Number 3, I strove for success. So people like me that like to keep busy, I felt it was the only way to achieve success. I would actually feel anxious when I wasn't busy because I felt it was a form of failure when I didn't keep my schedule. And it would create real unpleasant emotions, okay? Almost sadness, anxiety. That's bad. That's an addiction. Those are all signs of addiction. Number 4 was a status symbol for me. Being busy. We live in a society that praises hard work and productivity. So being busy all the time made me feel like I was winning in life. And it made me feel important in a social status, right? Trying to be our best all the time. And if you feel that you're trying to be your best all the time to create a feeling of importance, that's addiction. It's an addictive feeling. That is a sign. Number 5, I felt guilty when I did nothing. Because, the value we place on achievement and productivity in society, we are constantly pressured to be accomplishing things, right? It has become the norm to feel and think more, so it's become the norm. I'm trying to think what I'm trying to say here. It's become the norm to feel and think that we're doing more. The more we're doing, the more we're worth. That's what I meant. So it is the norm right now to feel and think that the more we're doing, the more we're worth. There you go. I said it. Oh my gosh. If we're relaxing, we're not doing anything, right? And that again is linked to an unpleasant emotion. Guilt, worry. I got so much stuff I got to do. Oh my gosh. Guilt. I'm sitting here doing nothing, but I could do that. Is Carl, going to think I'm lazy if I don't do that? Is Peter going to think I'm a bad mom if I skip out on the last lesson here because I really just want to spend 5 minutes to myself? No, that's actually healthy to not do that, Denise. Like, really? And my biggest one, and I want to know if anybody relates to this, please throw a comment under the podcast. You're bad at relaxing. I suck at relaxing. I am the worst person to try to relax, and I'm trying so hard to relax. I am trying so hard to make this a normal thing for me. But when you're addicted to being busy, you're super bad at relaxing. I feel guilty, I feel anxious and unproductive. Just simply from sitting down and having a cup of tea or coffee outside in the morning and writing in my journal, my gratitude journal or whatnot, literally, I feel guilty sometimes that I could be getting something done, while Peter's still asleep. But I am getting something done. And I'm also taking care of myself. I used a packed schedule to avoid issues and emotions. And that particular reason itself is enough that self-care is very important. So yeah, Denise, you need that cup of coffee or tea outside by yourself. You need to sit down for 30 minutes and just read. It's okay if he's watching YouTube for those 30 minutes. It'll be okay. And if he's used up his time, because we do like structured time on screen time, if he's used it up and he doesn't have any more, he could play Legos or something else. Period. I mean, it's just crazy that we spend all this time trying to worry about that. But for me, and I'm going to get a little like personal, just personal. Well, I'm always getting personal, but just like my own personal experiences with other people. I feel like sometimes I will text people and never get a response. Never. And then I'll message and be like, did you get that text? Oh, no. Well, it's the same person. So are you always getting my text? Or are you too busy to respond to my text until I call you out on that I didn't get your response? I'm so confused. But then I also think, okay, is it probably also because I'm becoming like needy? Am I asking too much from that person? And then I have to fall back on all my friendship stuff, right? Is it someone who might be in my inner circle, but I'm not in their inner circle, so I'm not as important to answer? Yeah, that's strange to me. But I will text people that I won't hear back from on a regular basis. But yet if you call them, these are the same people that don't answer the phone. Well, what do you do then? So I struggle with that. I have moms that I text for shit. I don't hear from them for 2 days. Is it because they don't like me and I'm like a second like hand friend? Or is it because they don't ever have their phones? Because to me, in today's society, everybody has their phones. And when you have a text message, and I will always text somebody to see if I could call them, because I don't want to call somebody in the middle of something. But at the same time, I also want to make sure that I'm providing them with, I know people work during the day. Just because I don't, and I'm available to talk during the day, doesn't mean that all my phone calls could come during the day. I would love for them to, but that's just not reality. And I understand that. Most people are working 9 to 5. I have the luxury of not doing that. I get to record and do what I want. So I do give that leniency there. I have that understanding. But I don't understand how, like, I've been really struggling with finding, like, my go-to people. Like, I have 2 go-to people, and neither one of them live in frickin' state. Like, that sucks. I have 2 peeps. I absolutely love them. And they're always available for me by text message or by phone. And they don't live anywhere near me. And trust, if they did, we would be freaking by each other's houses all the time. And I had made a comment once to one of them about, if you lived by me, like, or even in the state, we would be besties. And she wrote back, why are you saying we're not besties? And I'm like, oh, duh. Why can't we be? And that was part of this old school thing that I have, that you would equate your bestie being with someone that you're constantly doing stuff in person with. And that fell on me, right? So a lot of times I do try to look at both objects of it, and I also take into consideration that I was a really shitty friend in the past. I had really shitty behaviors and habits that probably rubbed a lot of people that I liked the wrong way. And now that I have identified those bad habits and I want to change them, they might not be available to see what changed habits are there. And I have to accept that, and I have to respect that choice on their behalf. And so I'm kind of always in this toss. I'm just someone who is in constant need of human interaction, but I like to be by myself. Isn't that strange? So I love being by myself and I'm comfortable being by myself. But sometimes I like to just get up and spend an hour or 2 hours chit-chatting and laughing my ass off with like a girlfriend. It just is what it is, right? And I struggle between that, finding healthy, I want to emphasize that, healthy and substantial friendships that are reliable, if that makes sense. I also have to understand that I put 180% into everything I do, and I cannot expect anybody to do that in return. And a lot of my friendships I used to judge based on that in the past, and you just can't do that, you know? I always tend to dominate a conversation. Well, number one, because I like to talk, but also because I've lived and experienced so much. And I have to really learn to stop doing that. I need to ask people how they are and listen to what they respond with. And I also need to honor and respect when I ask people how they are and what's going on. I need to just shut the hell up and listen to what they said and say, be there for them and not equate or try to. A lot of times I have tried and will try to help them in a situation. It's my way of helping them, but it's also me then interceding with my personal experiences that I understand what they're going through, but they don't want to hear that I'm doing it or I did it. They want to hear that I understand them. And so that is something I'm super working on. And a lot of the self-help I'm doing today is focused around that, which is why I made it such a point to not be busy. Does that make sense? So I'm trying to not be busy so that I can focus on all of this personal work because it's important. It doesn't matter how much you do, how busy you get. You're never going to get to an elevated place unless you're working on yourself. Any stops in life, any roadblocks, any rough paths are not what life is throwing at you. It's what you are bringing to the table to life and skewing with your past experiences. When you come, I have found that when I came to a self-acceptance that yes, these things happened in my youth. Yes, these things happened in my past. Yes, I was an alcoholic. Yes, I can change. Yes, there are people who will never believe or judge me based on my past. I have to let all that go because if I don't, it doesn't free me and clear my vision to see the new paths that are left open to you. I have thought about this podcast. I had a friend reach out to me when she listened to the podcast for the first time and said, "Oh my God, I'm so proud of you. Remember when you were talking about this 7 years ago?" And I thought to myself, yeah, I do. What's wrong with me? Like, why did it take me 7 years to do this? Because I was in the business of being busy to avoid all of this inner and self work I had about negative emotions and things I needed to address within myself, that I didn't clearly see the path that was there for me. And once I was able to look at and start weeding through this, I can see now that this is my path and the vision is much clearer. So I was grateful to kind of clear the business of being busy, but it's really helped me move forward in self-development and also just in enjoying life and my family more. And that's really what's important in life now. That's what we got today. If you like what you're hearing, please leave a review on the podcast platform that you're listening to. I appreciate them all. Please keep sending your texts and messages. I love them as well. I post them into the Facebook group. If you're not already part of the Facebook group, it's called Finding Calm in the Chaos. And that's it for today. See you next time. Thank you, friends, for spending this time with me today. If you found some calm listening in, please take a moment to subscribe to Finding Calm in the Chaos. And just so you don't miss out on future episodes, make sure you're receiving notifications. Thanks again. Until next time, lead with kindness.